Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the My Alpha Life podcast dedicated to mastering the male mindset. I'm your host, John Champ George. My co-host, Dennis Gunner Metzler. How you doing, my friend?
Good, bro. A little tired, but probably in a good way. How about you?
Yeah, same. I had a terrible night last night.
So you're tired in a bad way, though.
Okay. I'm tired in a bad way. I just heard tired, and
yeah,
and I agreed with you.
Yeah, I'm tired from exercising. You're tired from not sleeping.
Yeah, those are two very different kinds of tired. So drones and
and robots
and China and robots,
and America and robots.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
We got our own. Yeah, I was telling you, I saw that video. I actually saw a couple of videos over the past week that everybody looks at, I think, and they scroll on their phone. And they go, oh, wow, that's cool. Look at how exciting that looks and how pretty that is. And my brain goes to a different place, and your brain goes to a different place, and you're going, that's fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
The things that we're seeing these days, was the Shenzhen, China, day of celebration in China or whatever, with 10,000 drones in the air, with a light show that they put on, which was pretty spectacular, but again, like I said, terrifying at the same time.
Yeah. Those of you like listening and watching at home, if you're not familiar with what we're talking about, go on YouTube. It's all over social media and stuff. It's, what is it? The Shenzhen. I don't know how to spell it. But
it's Shenzen. It's one word. It's a city in China, southeast China.
Okay.
And this was from October 1st, so 2-3 weeks ago.
Okay. Yeah, and get on there and type in, look for their drone exhibition that they put on. It's again, like Gunner's saying, everybody is in awe of this this exhibition that they put on, this show that they put on, showcasing their technology in drones. And what it is that it's 10,000 drones all hooked to one piece of computer programming.
Right.
And it goes through all these different pictures and motion and dances and all kinds of things. I mean, if you watch it, you will truly be in awe of what they can create in the night sky via 10,000 drones. Gunnar brought it up and we were talking about it, and my first experience with this, I did see that clip, but my first experience was just a handful of weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago. I went down to Florida and I was coaching one of my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu students at the Kids Pans, which she won, by the way. Shout out to Audrey French. She's she's Pan-American champion now, so good job, kiddo. However, after that, we did kind of the Florida, festivities and whatever. In that, we went to Disney World, and it's been years and years and years since I've been to Disney World. I took my sons when they were very little, and I was shocked. Part of Disney World's night thing, where usually it's just the fireworks and
right.
That's kind of the big show. Now they have a drone show, and we get out there and all these people are standing around. I'm one of them. We're looking up in the sky and watching this happen, and everybody's oohing and awing, and they're all so, enthralled by what's happening. And all I saw was a problem. Right. I was like, yeah, sure. They've got I don't know how many drones it is. It's not 10,000. I'm sure, but it's a lot. There are a lot of drones, and they're making Shrek and, right. some Disney princess and whatever. And that's all fine and good, but if you can create this colony of drones to go up in the night sky and do something like that, you can do that. You can make them do a lot of other things. And where everybody's oohing and awing, I'm just watching. I'm like, man, we're like actually super vulnerable. This is not good.
Yeah. And, technology is great. I love technology. Technology allows us to live in a certain level of comfort that our ancestors never even dreamed of. But just like anything else, technological, mankind is going to find a way to corrupt that and going to find a way to use it against other people. Just look at the Ukraine and Russia. I mean, drones up above, and the soldiers don't see it until it drops an ordnance right on top of their position, and they have no idea it's coming and destroys them. I mean, now you have 10,000 drones. You don't have to outfit those things with much to make those things weapons.
No.
They don't have to carry a very high explosive charge on them. And again, when they're above you, you're not going to hear them, and they can move so fast. And I know you've seen the videos where they just have a drone zipping through an obstacle course, and it's just buzzing and whipping and zip, and it's crazy because it takes off with such speed when it starts those courses that imagine that thing dropping down on a person from up above. Now, also put that together with, say, facial recognition software that we've gone head over heels for, and how we've developed that since COVID, how much that has come into play. Put that along with a drone with a specified target. I mean, how easy is it to eliminate targets with nobody even knowing that you're a target?
Yeah.
And that's where my brain goes. I know that's where your brain goes.
Yeah.
But the general public is looking up and going, "Oh, look, it's a
pretty
Chinese
colors.
dragon," and it's fun, you know, and then you see one that's coming straight at you, and then what do you do?
And it's beautiful. I mean, not taking anything away from what they're doing at Disney, what they did in that, thing. It's just like people need to open up to the other possibilities, and I think a lot of people are very naive. Like, oh, there's no way anybody would do anything like that. And it's like, you clearly don't understand.
You don't understand
warfare, for one,
or the nature of man. Man always corrupts things, and even if it's a small subset of humans that turn it into something evil, it's still turned into something evil.
All it takes is one.
Right.
All it takes is one. Like, prime example and a great segue is Elon Musk. Mm-hmm. Elon Musk is obviously a genius, obviously incredibly intelligent, has all the money in the world, has all the resources in the world as far as teams of other incredibly intelligent people working for and under him. And that's one human. So it's, what are the motives of that one human?
Right.
And this isn't me saying Elon Musk is a bad guy. I'm just saying that that's an example of somebody who has the access to that kind of technology, who has the intelligence to implement and the resources to implement whatever he wants. He's rolling out. We were just talking off camera about the robots and
the Tesla robots, Optimus, I think he calls it.
Yeah, it's $20,000-$30,000 for one of these robots, and the idea is for one of these robots to be in everyone's home to help with daily chores and daily things that need to happen. At least that's the thing that I saw. That's what I understand is kind of the purpose of it.
Right.
Which,
I'm sorry, are you people fucking stupid? Did you not see iRobot, 10, 15 years ago, whatever that was when it came out? Like, who in their right mind thinks that this is a good idea? Yeah, I don't want to sweep my floors and wax my floors, and I don't want to have to, fold my laundry, but do I want to have a robot outfitted with artificial intelligence that's going to be smarter than me, that's going to be stronger than me, that's going to be faster than me, that probably is going to be bulletproof of me? Because look at the Tesla Cybertruck. They fired 9 mil at that thing, and they fired, I think Joe Rogan took a compound bow to that thing, and it shattered the fucking the bolt. Yeah. So you implement that with the robot and the AI. I mean, it's terrifying.
Smarter than you, faster than you, stronger than you, all these things, and doesn't need to sleep. Doesn't need to eat, doesn't need, doesn't have any of the chinks in the armor that human beings have.
Right. Yeah. Because I can go a long time without sleep, but the minute I have to close my eyes, I'm out.
Yeah.
And if there's some flashing light in my room that's attached to a robot that,
Yeah.
you know, like we said, I don't think Elon Musk has ill intentions. I think his intentions are great. And I
Sure.
think what he's trying to do is advance civilization, advance the population. But I've seen The Matrix. I've seen iRobot. I've seen Terminator. And the funny thing is he introduced that Robovan. He calls it like Robovan. I don't, just to be funny or something, but it's actually spelled Robovan. He introduced that, a week and a half ago in Burbank, California and this is at the summit that he called We Robot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tongue in cheek, but
And
that thing,
here's the thing. Some of the listeners are going to go like, well, yeah, but Gunnar, those are movies. Here's the thing. And there are actually a lot of people that have talked about this. Some of them being conspiracy theorists, some of them not, but the correlations between movies of the past and things that have now come to fruition
Right.
are uncanny. And just The Simpsons, if you just took The Simpsons, the different episodes in The Simpsons that over the years have, that came out so long ago that then now we see exactly that same angle, exactly that same presentation, exactly those same people. And there are countless episodes of that. But then just other things like iRobot. That's a great example for what's rolling out right now. I don't believe that the idea came first. I don't think that the idea for a movie came out and then some scientist is like, oh yeah, we could actually build that. Let's try to do that. I don't
Right.
believe that. I think a lot of this technology and understanding and, knowledge has been around for a very long time and it's been under lock and key. And I think that they being the government, they being the people that are really pulling the strings behind the scenes, I think that they create these movies to get you used to the idea. And I think it takes, human beings 20, 30, 40 years of seeing movies like that, reading books like that, having conversations and the occasional like, oh, did you hear about the UFO sighting? And then maybe there's more, and then maybe there's more. And then now all of a sudden the government's come out and just admitted like, yeah, there's UFOs.
Right.
It's like, man, you guys have known that for ever and ever. There's no way movies were created and then now all of a sudden that's actually a real thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And just, I don't want to harp on this, but Elon Musk has got the Robovan and he's got this Tesla bots coming out. Now, if you guys remember iRobot, the actual movie, like one of the first scenes where it starts to go bad is when Will Smith is in the tunnel driving in the car and he has those giant things that look almost exactly like the Robovan that Elon Musk just created, and they cut him off in the tunnel and then they open up and start deploying
Robots.
dozens of robots onto him to stop him. I mean, it's uncanny how similar that looks, and I understand that he's trying to be funny with the We Robot Summit instead of iRobot. But again, like you said, it's like the analogy of the frog in the pot of boiling water. You don't just throw a frog in a pot of boiling water and kill him. Like you just gradually increase the temperature and make the frog comfortable until all of a sudden he's dead. So I think, and I hate to say, but I feel like this thing can go two directions, but it typically always goes the direction of bad. And at least for a small subset of the population, they will turn something bad and turn it against people and use it to their own benefit and to the other people's detriment. And I think it's only a matter of time.
Yeah. And here's the deal. Regardless of what side of the camp you're on, if you're like a diehard conspiracy theorist and, just to speak to that, just a side note, it's a conspiracy theory until it's true, right? And when it's actually happened, it is no longer a conspiracy theory. And there's a lot of things like that. think back, I remember in my time, even right now, there are people right now that if you were like, oh yeah, aliens are definitely a thing, they would laugh at you.
Sure.
You know? I remember being a child, being a teenager, and it was like if you believed in aliens, you were like a kook. You know, you were whatever. I'm only 42 years old. So that is not that long ago. And here we are now with all this video footage of aliens, alien spacecraft, the thing in Miami, the mall deal in Miami, where like it was reported 8, 9, 10 foot, aliens or whatever, and every cop within any district was there, and all these things. It's just there's so many, and again, whether any of those are a hoax, they're real, they're put out, whatever it is, whatever side of the camp that you're on, some things are absolutely real. And like if aliens are real and they're going to come down and hang out with us or invade us or whatever, we'll figure that out, right?
Right.
That's whatever. That's going to happen or it's not going to happen. But some of the things that we're talking about, like this robot situation with Elon Musk, the technology that we have now, the drones, which we opened this conversation about, all of that is definitely real. Drones in general are being used like crazy in warfare.
Yeah.
They're being used to surveil. They're being used to drop ordinances. They're being used for all different kinds of reasons. We've used them in our job. I've flown a drone into backyards and to creep into windows and stuff in a yard where I couldn't get into it, or a neighborhood where I needed to be a couple blocks over and not be spotted, but I can fly a drone over and kind of see what's going on. So, I mean, if we're using it in our job and all the different governments are using it for warfare, why would they not continue that, right? So, for example, if China can put on an aerial show with 10,000 drones, why couldn't they just send 10,000 drones or deploy 10,000 drones over America, right?
They could.
Or over any other country for that matter. Which leads us to whether it's robots, whether it's drones, whether it's aliens, whether it's whatever, are you ready for it? Are you prepared for it? Right? And that question is not to Gunner. I know Gunner's life, and I know mine and our preparedness, but you guys, what are you prepared for that? Do you know what you would do if a drone strike came in, if there was an EMP and the power grid shut down, if aliens did land tonight? Like, what would you do? Are you ready?
Yeah, and this isn't to terrify you. And if it does terrify you, then go to your therapist and pop your Xanax and go to sleep. But it's not meant to terrify you. It's meant to make you think, and to think ahead and to think into the future, and what you would do, what plans you have in place, what supplies you have in place. If you have a family, does your family know of the plans? Does your family know where their supplies are? Does your family know the exit routes, the ingress and egress? Or do you guys have a bug out spot that you can go when shit goes crazy? Because it's not that if it goes crazy and if it happens, it's more of a matter of when it happens. Mm-hmm. We sat on our asses when 9/11 happened and nobody was prepared for that. Look what it did to the island of Manhattan and Long Island and New York in general, and just New York. And look at how it shut down that entire place. And that was 2 planes going into the World Trade Center. Huge deal, right? That was 2 planes that killed 4,000 people. Now imagine a drone strike with 10,000 drones. Some hitting power plants, some hitting nuclear sites. What do you do? What's your plan? What's your supply list? You could ask the average everyday guy, or just maybe not the average everyday guy, maybe somebody who thinks they're a little more prepared. Hey, are you prepared if something happens right now when you're at Walmart, when you're out food shopping at the food store? Are you prepared? Oh yeah, I've got my gun. I always have my concealed carry. Well, congratulations. You can survive for a few minutes.
And
what's beyond that?
Yeah, and that's not to shit on that. The thing is to point out, it's to point out the reality. Like, that is not enough. Your point is that is not enough. Right. And I agree 1,000,000%. That is not enough. You need more. You need everything at your house set up. You need all these revisions, right? And plans. But knowing that that's not enough, that's far, far, far more than the average person has. And that's kind of, if I may, your point. Like, you're way more prepared than the average person, and you're not prepared.
Yeah, that's going to get you out of an immediate trouble. That's like my concealed carry. I call it my oh shit piece. It's my oh shit gun. It's like, oh shit, like something just happened. I've got that immediately to go to. Then after that, then you have to be moving and thinking. And the idea of this in particular episode is just to get you thinking beyond that, because not many people do. They think, well, I've got a gun to protect myself. Okay. What happens if you get shot? Do you have something to deal with your immediate traumatic injuries? What happens if your family member gets shot? What happens if, something like what we're talking about with the drones or EMP strikes or whatever, some type of hostile environment that we're living in? Do you have something to deal with the immediacies that follow that oh shit situation? And do the people around you that you love and care about, are they involved in these plans, or are you going to be the one running the show, which is a pretty terrifying event, especially if everybody else around you is not involved, because then you have to be the director of these people and you have to be reliant on their mental facets that they're going to do what they're supposed to do. Once you step beyond that initial, like, oh shit, here's my, I use my concealed carry. Like, what do you do after that? Like, do you carry a trauma kit? Do you carry a tourniquet on you? Do you have something in your vehicle? Do you have something to deal with a potentially traumatic injury that could cause long-lasting physical injury or death at that moment? That's the next step, at least in my mind, is worrying about trauma at that point.
Right.
And then beyond that, I mean, we can step way out, and we will step way out past that. But do you have enough for yourself? Do you have enough for your family? Do you have enough for your children? Do you have enough to get you past that immediate shock to the system of whatever's happening in front of you?
Yeah, and those things vary, right? Like, you could be at the mall and you're by yourself. You're just picking something up at the mall, and then you're headed home. And there's an active shooter. Let's just play that scenario. Okay? That's where your concealed carry is going to come in. That's where your trauma kit's going to come in. That's where your tactics and training and personal mindset and readiness and all those things, that's going to come in right then, right? But that is acute, right? That's localized to what's in the mall. Like, the guy is shooting in the mall. You happen to be in the mall. There you go. If you were 10 blocks down from the mall, you would never know what was happening at the mall until you heard it on the news, right? Something that I think a lot of people need to all, and you need to be prepared for that. It's why you carry a gun every day. It's why I carry a gun every day, right? We both have multiple trauma kits. We have trauma kits in our vehicles. We have also the training and the knowledge and understanding of how to utilize all those things, how to put holes in people and how to fix holes in people, right?
Right.
And you guys need to have that stuff. You need to know those things and have those skills and be prepared in that way. But back to the like robot China drone technology type of scenario, if something mass collateral damage happened in the United States, like if short of the terrorist attacks that we've experienced, the Boston bomber, right, the Oklahoma bomber, the World Trade Center 9/11 situation, and there are a lot of like actual bombings and things that never hit the news. People don't know about the subway and things like this. That like maybe they know about it locally, but anyway, if say China decided they wanted to invade America, right, and all they would, or not even invade us, just hurt us really bad. Just cripple us. All they have to do is shut the power grid down. Everybody knows this, right? If you guys don't know this, then like you need to start paying attention because of a few reasons. Number one, at this time in our history, we rely so much on the power grid, and many different people, many different experts have talked about this. If the power grid goes down, and it goes down, it's not just the power's out from a storm, it's off. And who knows when it's coming back, if ever, right? It's off 3 days. They say 3 days, 90% of the population is done.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is the law of threes or the rule of threes, right? You can go 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water,
right?
3 weeks without food. Now,
that's best case scenario for
best
some people.
Case scenario. Yeah. So like that's
I know
exactly
people
where I
who
was
can't
going.
hold their breath for 30 seconds. So
they can't hold their breath for 30 seconds. There are people that are right now like wildly dehydrated. They're just walking around drinking soda and whatever every day.
How's that energy drink?
Listen, you can get away with it, but because here's why. Mission Barbecue, shout out to Mission Barbecue, because when you got this guy full of like,
that's sweet tea.
Hydrate. That's not sweet tea. Anyway, I digress. So, but people are walking around wildly dehydrated. They don't care about their diet. They don't care about their hydration. They don't care about exercise. They don't care about any of these things. So, 3 days without water, if you're lucky. Now, you guys really think about it. Put yourself in this situation. The power grid goes down. There is no power. You're not talking to your loved ones on your phone. You're not calling your wife, texting your wife and going, babe, what's going on at the house? Whatever. You need to get home, right? Let's just say your normal life, you work at an office and you need to get home and you live 10, 15 minutes away from home. Let's just say that's somebody's commute, which is not a terrible thing. Every day you're like, yeah, I live conveniently close to my work, right? 10 or 15 minute drive from your office to your home now is a giant fucking deal. Because
traffic lights,
you don't have your car doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because unless you've got, like, let's say an EMP goes off, you're fucked.
Yeah, you're walking.
Yeah, your car doesn't work. Like, people don't understand that your vehicle, modern vehicles run on a computer chip. You got like the brain, the computer in your vehicle. That thing is affected by an EMP. The same as your phone is, same as all the cell towers, same as all the lights. Everything. So yeah, like traffic lights aren't going to work, whatever, but that's only going to be for like carbureted vehicles.
Sure. Old
school carbureted vehicles. Who has any of those anymore? Not many people. Right. So, so now you're at your office, can't get in touch with your wife, can't get in touch with your kids or whatever. Think about what a disaster that would be. I need to now get home. Okay. Well, fuck, I'm walking home. So you start your trek walking home, 10 or 15 minute
that's 20,
drive,
20 miles at best. At the least, like that. If you're lucky, that's a 20-minute, depending upon where you live. 20 mile,
right?
20 miles that's a fucking trek.
It's far, dude.
That's not. I mean, I'd do it.
I
don't want to do it.
To put it into perspective for you, like you guys know, I ride horses and I own a horse and all that stuff. 20 miles is like what you would want to do on a horse in a day.
Yeah.
People don't understand that. Like 20 miles is really fucking far. To walk on your own 2 feet is like, and in the military, you know, we're doing ruck marches, we're doing all the things and okay, but like 20 miles is a lot, dude. If 20 miles is all you'd want to put on a horse in a full day, imagine what you're doing on your body. And now imagine how quickly you can get there. Now imagine, are you hydrated? Are you whatever? So
are you in shape?
Yeah. Again, back to my point of like the hydration thing, you know, 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water. Well, just power went out, realization that phones don't work, power's out. Fuck, I need to get home to my family. Now you have a 20-mile walk.
Yeah.
10-mile walk. Let's be nice and cut it in half. You have a 10-mile walk home under stress. Who knows what time of year it is, weather, whatever. Who cares? You're wildly dehydrated by the time you get home, right? Like if you are in shape, you have good nutrition, you have good hydration, and you make a 10-mile walk right now, like I need to drink water during that. I certainly need to drink water when I get done with that. And that's if you're in shape and well hydrated normally. Right. And the reason I'm making a big deal about that is because immediately upon the realization that there's no power, no communication, and you get yourself home, let's say you make it. Okay, now once you get there, you need to rehydrate. You need to figure out how to get water in your body.
If the power's out,
I'm going to turn the sink on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
Oh, it doesn't run on pressure?
Weird. Why doesn't it work? I don't understand. Oh, because the city runs water off of pumps. Pumps are run electrically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So, well, fuck. Now what do we do? Okay, so I don't have any water coming out of the sink. I don't have any water coming out of any faucets in my house. So where are we left with? What water do you have?
In your fridge.
In your fridge, in your cabinets, in your garage, wherever you've... So what we're getting at is, have you stored water? Do you have gallons or bottles or whatever? And the average person, the answer is no.
Right.
Maybe they have some water in the fridge.
Maybe you got a case of water you just picked up from Costco.
Exactly. But
a 5-person family, how long is that going to last?
Yeah.
40 bottles? Figure the math out yourself.
Again, let's be nice and just say it's you.
Yeah.
Let's say it's just you. 1 case of water. I'll smash a case of water in a day. You know what I mean? Like, now obviously you're going to start rationing water. So, right. But okay, so a couple days, 3 days maybe. Oh, it's starting to make sense, because after 3 days, good luck. So what are you going to do? Well, I got some water in the tank of my toilet. Okay. Well, that'll get you a little bit, you know. Now what? Fuck, I need to leave my house and I need to go acquire water. Okay, now you need to acquire water from where? And that opens a whole new can of worms. And this is where if dehydration doesn't get you first, which that's what's going to get most people, dehydration doesn't get you first, the crime and the violence and the looting that is shortly guaranteed to follow, that is definitely going to get you. Because, I mean, what are the options? You have 2 options. I don't get any water, and I'm definitely going to die, right? Or go find water, where are you going to find it? You're going to go to the grocery store. The average person will probably go, I'm going to go to the grocery store, I'm going to break in, and I'm going to steal water, right? It's survival. So, okay. And I agree with you. Cool. Go do your thing. You're not a fucking genius that just came up with that by yourself. Everybody else is on their way there as well.
Or probably the people who were working at the food store when this whole thing happened cleared the shelves of whatever they needed for their families, and whoever was in the food store cleared the shelves, you know, so, you know, do you have another way? Is there another way to acquire water? Well, I mean, that's when you got to start thinking about where you live geographically. Like out here in North Carolina, water's all over the place. I mean, it rains and there's ponds and lakes and rivers and streams and creeks, and that's all over the place, but are you going to drink that shit?
Exactly. So that's where I was going next. I go to the store. Okay, well, whatever. So, there's a pond. I have 2 ponds right here in my neighborhood.
Yeah. I'm not
drinking that. The average person might think that they could.
Good luck.
Oh, it's water. Well, okay. Now dysentery is going to take you. So good job. So what's that leave? Again, assuming you haven't prepared. Yeah, assume you have not prepared. I mean, what does that leave for the average guy? The average guy is going to go, well, fuck, where else can I get water? Well, I got a bunch of neighbors around me. Let me go see if I can get some of their water.
I got more weapons and ammo than they do.
Yeah.
I know the guy across the street over here, and, you know, he hates guns. And
yep.
I can go take his shit if somebody.
I got a Veterans for Kamala neighbor right across the street. That guy probably doesn't have any guns.
He's got some CTE. he's definitely been hit in the head a couple of times. What a fucking idiot.
But yeah, are you guys kind of getting the point? Like these numbers are not made up by conspiracy theorists. They're not made up by people that, don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They are not made up at all. They are figured out by experts that know how these things work because, one, history, this has happened. We know the survival rate. We know what the human body is capable of, can do, can't do, all those things. And it is what it is. And listen, like desperation and fear is a real thing, and that kicks in very quickly. You realize, oh, I actually have no way to drive around. I have no way to communicate with anybody. So now surviving is literally just up to me. It's up to just what do I have and what have I prepared for? That is panic inducing.
Yeah. Well, we also live in a society where like we have localized tragedies, like just what happened in Western North Carolina out here with the hurricane that came through and decimated a community. I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of people still without power, still without running water, still without food supplies or without any kind of resources, but somebody comes to help, right? There's people out there, like people are flooding from all over the country to go and help. I know friends out in Arizona, they said Phoenix Fire and Rescue went out there and they're helping. I talked to people at my gym where I work out and they've got SRP is out there. Not SRP, sorry, that's Arizona. Duke Energy is out there and they've got all these people coming in. Now guess what? That's a localized traumatic situation. Now we're talking about where this thing is generalized over the entire country and nobody's coming to help. Like you are your help.
Yeah, the hurricane thing is, like you said, it happened to someone else. So other people that were not affected by it have resources, have extra, have plenty, and they're going to help and give and do all those things. But when you're part of the disaster, you're not out helping other people, When you realize like, oh shit, us surviving is based only on what we have currently and what we can acquire.
Yep.
That's what it boils down to. So obviously, common sense tells you if your survival is based on what you have currently at any given time, because you don't know when something's going to happen, and what you can acquire, then that means you need to have a lot. The more, the better, obviously. And you need to have the skills and ability to go and acquire more. Now, what does that look like? It depends on what you're talking about, right? If we're talking about water, which that's our topic right now, there are lots of ways to go. Those 2 ponds that we talked about, if I have a water filtration system or multiple, which I do, I have the ability to go to that lake or that pond and drink directly out of it. And and it's filtered and I'm good to go, right? So I have a giant cup that God created holding water and I can just go drink out of it. Wonderful. Whereas the neighbor next to me goes and drinks that water straight out of the pond, he's going to get violently ill, if not die. If he gets violently ill from it, he will still die from it because we're still talking about a dehydration situation, right? So what skills and abilities do you have and knowledge do you have to acquire what you need? You and I have the skills, the knowledge, the understanding, and the ways to implement that, right? Like the materials, the supplies to do that, right? We can go down there, we can drink directly from the pond, and we're good through a filtration device. We can collect the water, bring it back, and then we can filter it and or sanitize it multiple ways, here at my house or at your house. And neither of us rely on one. I've got off the top of my head, I think I have 6 different ways to filter acquire water, filter it, sanitize it, all that, and make sure that we're good to go without the need for electricity, without the need for anything else other than the materials and supplies that we have.
Right. Yeah, and that's, this is one topic, and there's so many more beyond this. I'm thinking back to like when I was a kid, and I remember a hurricane came through when I was living up on Long Island, and I think we were without power for 3 days or something like that. And that was kind of terrifying as a kid, just seeing my parents like unprepared and not knowing what to do or how to handle it. And that was obviously well before we had cell phones. So you're kind of relying on word of mouth at that point, like what's the help, who's coming in, and you could see utility trucks coming in and doing the work and trying to fix things. We had a giant tree come down and like crash on our property and take out the old power lines. But again, that was something where you could actually physically see people coming in, so you had some level of comfort. I think in general, if something like that were to happen on a mass scale out here, I think there would be mass panic. I think the majority of the population wouldn't know what to do without their cell phones, and they'd be sitting there wondering, like, well, how do I handle this situation? Well, I'm just going to sit here, and I think that's what would grip a lot of people, is I'm just going to sit here and wait for help to come, because help always comes. I think after 3 days, of not seeing anything, maybe 2 days, of not seeing anything, not hearing anything, not seeing any vehicles come down your road, like that, at that moment, I don't know, maybe after 1 day is the time to go, okay, well, now we need to start implementing that plan. I mean, if you're close enough to an attack like this or something like this to happen in the States, and you can see the blast, you can see the explosion, maybe you'd have a better idea of somebody who is further away from it, like, okay, now's the time to go. But you have to mentally prepare yourself for that in your head. And the reason we're doing this, again, is not to terrify you, but it's to get you to think ahead, and not just think one step ahead, because you're going to be 3 steps behind everybody else. You need to be thinking 4, 5, 6 steps ahead and planning out for contingencies when things don't go your way, because in a situation like that, they're not going to go your way. And it's up to you as the leader of your house, or just the leader of yourself, to make those decisions and start making and taking action to get yourself out of that situation.
It's not to scare you now. It's to prepare your mind, to prepare your household, so you're not terrified when it does happen, because that is exactly what will happen.
Yeah, too many people have gotten into the Walking Dead lifestyle where they're like, oh, that would be cool. I can't wait for the zombie apocalypse. And, oh, it looks so cool. And, yeah, you have no idea how terrible a life, forget about the zombies, but a life like that is, how difficult a life like that is. I mean, I watched that show a couple of times, and I see some people who are just like, the cast members or whatever, they're fat. Like, nobody's going to be fat.
No.
There is bare minimum of food. Do you know how to hunt? Are you going to be taking down your own game? Are you going to be cleaning your own game? Are you going to be cooking your own game? And do you know how to do that? Because that's what you're going to be surviving on.
And if you can't physically get out there and do that, then
you're just another victim of whatever event has happened. You're just another tally, another mark. So the idea is to understand there is nothing that's going to be comfortable about this. And you got to realize that the minimum that you can get by on, we keep ourselves in pretty good physical condition and pretty good physical shape. I still probably eat more than I should right now, and I'm not eating half of what I used to. But what I'm eating now, I'd probably have to cut that by a fourth, That, you watch Survivor or those.
Just to ration, so you guys understand what he's saying. He's talking about to ration your food, because you don't know
when the next meal's
coming. So what you have currently stockpiled or not, whatever you have or whatever you go out and acquire. Let's say you have nothing and you go out and you magically are able to shoot and kill a deer. Let's say that you know how to field dress that, you know how to properly, dispatch that animal, you know how to properly preserve the meat and all the things, okay? Which those are all skills that you probably don't have. And most people think, because of movies, like you're saying, they probably think, oh, I'll be able to do that. No, you fucking won't. So get out and learn and figure it out. But let's say, perfect world, perfect scenario, you're able to do that. You kill a deer, you dispatch it properly, you preserve all the meat properly. Okay, well, now you have that deer worth of food.
Right.
So now what? Are you going to sit down and like pig out or whatever? No, you're going to have to, if you're smart, excuse me, if you're smart, you're going to ration that food, while you're still out trying to acquire more food in other ways.
Yeah, and I mean, I've got some emergency supplies of food, the containers that are good for 25 years. I've got several of those. I know you've got several of those. And I mean, also, it'll give you portion sizes on there and tell you it's good for this many years and it's good for this many people.
Right.
A lot of people, when they're accustomed to eating the way that they eat and gorging the way they gorge, I don't think they realize how small those meals are in those packages. And they think that's going to make it through a day, and after they eat that meal, 30 minutes later, they're hungry. Listen, that was your meal for the day. You better suck it up and start planning for the next meal because it can't come out of that container. That's the whole point to an emergency food supply is when something like this does happen, that you have that to get you to your next meal, but you have to be preparing for your next meal. Where's it coming from? Because eventually that's going to run out. That supply of food that you've got is going to run out. So, are you skilled in hunting? Can you take down, can you clean a squirrel if you had to? Can you take him out of the tree with whatever you have? Are you fast enough to catch something like that? Probably not. Do you know how to trap?
Yeah. Do you know how to make a snare? Do you know any of these things?
Yeah. So it's all things that people don't think about because, like I said, you're so accustomed to somebody coming to help.
Yeah.
But this is a scenario that we're talking about. If there's a massive drone attack, if China decides, yep, today's the day, we're going to launch this massive drone attack. How many platoons, I don't know what you would call it, of 10,000 drones do they have? And how many of those would it take to infiltrate an electric power plant of all the major cities around the country? It's not as hard as people would think.
Well, something that I actually have thought about a lot, I don't think it would take any of that. They could do that, but China in particular, I think China just pushes one button.
Yeah.
From some Chinese office somewhere, and all our shit turns off. Look around this studio right now. These mics, this equipment, my phone, that camera, those computers, all 90% of what's in this room, if not 100% of what's in this room, electronic, was probably made in China.
Yeah.
Or at least the computer chips that are involved and the software that's involved and these types of things, all made and developed and processed in China.
And if it's not, half the other shit's got TikTok downloaded on it. So,
but yeah, I think we'd be foolish to think that they don't have some sort of control like that, something embedded in all the things that they make and ship out. And this is just America we're talking about. I mean, China doesn't only supply America with electronics. They supply the whole world with electronics.
Right.
So, I mean, if I were some dictator in China, that's how I would run the show. Like, let's put a little,
Yeah.
I just want an internal off switch. Thank you very much. And then you just push a button, everything shuts off, and there you go.
It's very conceivable. I mean, you were talking about conspiracy theories before. Oh, that's just a conspiracy theory. Is it? Or will it actually happen? What was the phone company that China had, or the phone Huawei or something like that, where they actually found like spying technology through the Huawei phones that were all being used. I mean, it happens, and it happens for a reason.
Yeah.
It's a constant game of chess between the governments, and we're the pawns.
Well, they were able to hack into what's the vacuum? What's that called?
The Roomba.
Yeah, the Roomba. They were able to hack into Roombas and like just control Roombas in people's houses with exactly the same. That's what I'm talking about. Like those things, the computer chips and the hardware and stuff that's in those things. If an item like that is not 100% produced in China and all the parts are produced in China, at least 90% of the internals are. You know what I mean? Like, let's say you have something that, let's say American vehicles. Okay. People give me shit because I drive a Toyota Tundra.
Terrible truck.
Right. It's awesome.
It's a cool truck.
It's so cool.
It can take a hit for sure.
Yeah, for sure can. Yeah. We need to bring that up in some Bounty Hunter story times.
The one that happened in Mexico?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the time has ran up on that.
The statute of limitations.
The statute of limitations. I think we're probably good. Maybe not. I don't know. That was recent. Anyway, I digress. So this drives me. We live in North Carolina. A lot of rednecks, a lot of trucks in North Carolina, a lot of people that are very proud of their trucks, right? And I've had this debate many times. Out here, it's like you're a Ford guy or a Chevy guy, right? Ford guy, Chevy guy. If you're out west, like Colorado, Wyoming, whatever, it's more like Dodges are huge out there on ranches with cowboys and stuff like that, which Dodges are fucking trash. The transmission on a Dodge is...
I had a Ram.
I know. Good job trading it in.
Now I got a Jeep, so it's the same thing.
Yeah. I had a Jeep at one time too, and it fucking fell. Anyway, so listen, people out here, it's like you're a Chevy guy, you're a Ford guy, right? American-made trucks, American-made whatever. No, they're fucking not. No, they're not. Ford and Chevy both, their factories are in Mexico. Right. So it's an American-owned company, but very few of their jobs, if you look like 100% of Chevrolet's jobs, their factories are in Mexico. That's not an American-made truck.
Cost savings. It's all about money.
Now, Toyota, that's a Japanese-owned company with Japanese technology, which electronically and stuff like that, technologically is far superior to American technology. But their plants are in Texas. Their factories are in Texas. So we have Americans working and making and building this truck. It's a Japanese-owned company.
Quit saying Japanese. It's just East China.
Yeah. But anyway, that doesn't change the fact that if an EMP or something happened, they're all shutting off. Like it's not nobody's safe. Nobody's good unless you have an old school carbureted vehicle, which I recently sold mine. So
I didn't know you sold it. Okay.
Yeah, I did.
It's terrible.
I know.
Maybe I did know and I just forgot because I don't get enough sleep.
Probably that.
Yeah. I mean, now we've gotten to 2 points. We've gotten to pretty much food and water.
Yeah.
Or
which
water and food, which is
bottom.
Bare
minimum. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we could talk about this for hours and hours because then you've got to worry about, in the wintertime, warmth. You got to worry about shelter. You got to worry about protection from other people, or depending upon where you live, the wild animals that are in your area. I mean, we live in North Carolina. We're in eastern North Carolina right now. I live in central North Carolina, and there's black bear and there's coyotes. And I mean, you go further east and you got to worry about snakes, rattlesnakes, and we've got cottonmouth. And, there's people are so accustomed to living in these cush houses with their air conditioning that's set automatically, and you've got climate controlled rooms, and you've got your refrigeration for your food. You've got all these creature comforts, but spend the night outside and just try it once. Just try it once with a sleeping bag wherever you are, and see how uncomfortable it is, and see how little sleep you actually get, because you don't have the protection from the elements or the bugs or anything else that's outside. Or if it were a situation like we're talking about, the people who are going to come and try and ransack your shit in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I was going to point that out. So let's say again, okay, out, you go out and find that deer, right? Which, good luck. How many people right now? There are many people right now. The vast majority of people that hunt deer, don't get pissed. It is what it is. they bait. They
Right.
bait for deer, right? They bait with corn or whatever they're going to
Corn
bait
piles,
with.
yeah.
And then they go sit in a tree stand, deer comes by, and then they shoot it. Okay. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that way of acquiring food if that's what you're doing. That's fine. But when food is scarce and when materials and supplies are scarce, that is now an issue. And let's say that for you it's not. Let's say that you've got a warehouse full of corn to go, lay around and bait for deer. We'll play this hypothetical game. Okay, cool. Well, now you have to physically leave and go do that. You have to go bait in that area. You have to sit and wait for the deer to come. You have to do these things. Who's at your house?
Right.
Like, what is the security protocol at your house now? What are your wife and kids doing? Do you have like a community of people? Is it just you and your pregnant wife? Are you and your wife on the same page? You'd be astonished how many guys are like, oh yeah, pro gun, I got this, I hunt, I this and that. I carry a gun every day, whatever. Okay, is your wife on board with that? Like, does she, because now she needs to be, because I don't give a fuck what your stance is. People are going to come to your house. That's just what it is. It might not be right away. If you live in a neighborhood, a community in a neighborhood where houses are right next to each other, then sooner rather than later, somebody's showing up,
Yeah.
And that once somebody realizes in their brain, I need to go take what I can find, and they know that there's food, there's canned food, and there's water, and there's sodas, and there's whatever. There are these things that are preserved in people's pantries and in people's homes. They're going to go to the grocery store first. They're going to realize, okay, that's already all been taken. Now it's a race against the clock because everybody's got the same idea. I need to go find it where I can find it. And if somebody has a gun, they will go and try to take your shit. So now who's out hunting the deer? While you're out hunting the deer, who's taking care of security at the house?
Or when you are hunting the deer and you find the deer and you fire your gun, how far do you think that report from that gun travels?
Yep.
How fast do you think that travels? Who do you think is around that heard that, and who do you think is going to be keyed in on that? And who do you think maybe doesn't show up that day, but who just sits and watches? I mean, these are things that stalkers and predators do. They sit there and they listen, they watch, they wait. They don't take immediate action. Maybe they had enough supplies. Maybe they ate 3 days ago and they're good for 3 more days.
Yeah.
And maybe they're just waiting for their next action. And that's dependent upon you. These are all things that I think about all the time because my brain's a little more twisted than most people. But I think it's something that people should think about. And it's not to be paranoid. Because I go out and I live my life every day that I do just as normal people would, but it's always things that I'm thinking about as I go through my days.
Well, and the more prepared that you are, the more time you buy yourself to be able to do those things. Like you said, I know you have stuff. I've got freeze dried food. I've got cases of MREs. I've got all the things, right? But I also have a bunch of guns. I also have a bunch of ammunition. I also train with those things. I also know how to use them really well. Also got a security protocol for the house. Like, I know what's going to happen with different scenarios, right? It's not just, oh, zombies are attacking. Okay, what do we do? And like you said, people kind of like romanticize that, like with The Walking Dead. What they're romanticizing is, oh man, I wouldn't have to go to work anymore, and I'd be able to just off zombies all the time. It'd be fucking so cool. Yeah, that's not it. That's not it. There's a reality to let's just paint a picture real fast. Let's say somebody tries to break into your house. they're coming through a window, right? And their goal is come in here and take your shit. They're probably not doing it by themselves. Probably not. If they're smart, like I'm not going to go try to acquire food alone by myself.
Yeah.
Like I would take you with me. I would, you know what I mean? Like you and I would get a lot more accomplished than me by myself. If they're smart, that's how they're going to do it. But let's just play the hypothetical game of it's only one human. They're trying to come through a window or a door, whatever, and you get the drop on them and you shoot and kill them. Okay. You shot and killed one intruder trying to come and get your stuff. Well, there's now a dead body at your front door or at a back window or whatever. What are you going to do about that?
Got to get rid of it somehow.
You got to get rid of it. And people might think like, well, I'm just going to leave it there.
Yeah, good luck.
What are you going to benefit from that? Like somebody seeing, if you think that somebody's going to see it and think like, oh, that's like a warning to anybody else coming in. No, they don't know who fucking lived there. That could be you. They might see it and be like, oh, the fucking owner of this house is dead. I'm going to go in and see what kind of shit they've got.
Yeah.
Aside from that, the illness and disease that comes from a dead, rotting body.
And give it about 3 days and tell me you're going to live in that house with that smell.
Yeah. Yeah. Aside from the discomfort of the smell and the sight and the whatever else, there's very real consequences to having dead, rotting flesh anywhere near where you're living. So, there are things that people just don't think about. It's where burial came from. Like burial didn't start as like, oh, we're going to respect our dead and no, burial came as a means of necessity to stop disease from spreading, because if a dead, rotting body is above ground and exposed to the world and the elements and the people around it, it will cause illness and death. So,
yeah. So that plan won't work for most people. Yeah. You mentioned, well, it's just one person. The likelihood is it's going to be 2 or 3 or more.
Right.
And there's going to be a distraction somewhere to get your attention. And while your attention is diverted, something's going to happen behind you. And now you're left dealing with multiple threats. So that was kind of why I was asking, like, are you by yourself? Do you live by yourself, or do you have a family? And if you have a family, are they as well prepared as you?
Yeah.
I know my girls can shoot a gun. I've taught them how to shoot guns. They've shot rifles. They've shot shotguns. They've shot pistols. They're nowhere near proficient with them, but they will if they have to. If I tell, a situation like this plays out, hey, girls, I need you to watch that door right there with this gun. And if anybody other than me comes through, they don't come through. Understand? And they get the picture. My son, he's well-versed. He's got his own weapon stash, and he knows how to use them. And he would have no issue with doing what needs to be done. But, are the people around you, are they going to be a liability to you and to your actual family, or are they going to be trained? And are you going to have them as assets to your clan if something and when something like this does happen?
And to that point, you got to understand the toll that it takes and the reality of what's going to happen in the moment. Like your son, again, like you've done a great job. He's very strong. He's very smart. He's very independent. He's been around guns, knows them, all those things. He's never had to shoot and kill a person.
No.
So when that happens, God forbid that ever has to happen in his life, and he's presented with that, you don't know. Like nobody knows how they're going to react. There are people that have shocked me in my life where I was like, this guy's definitely got it.
Right.
And that guy definitely didn't have it,
Yeah.
So, and vice versa. Somebody that you might think would be a liability in that moment, like just steps up and fucking gets the job done. But aside from that, let's say that he does, because I think that he probably would. And then let's say that he does and he's got it and he handles business or whatever. Well, that's going to take a very huge emotional and mental toll on him. And now, if this is like the new way of life for the foreseen future, that's tough, man. That's hard, So, and again, you're talking about 1, 2, 3 days ago, we were driving around in our cars and we were watching TikTok and we were doing whatever and like just living life. And now all of a sudden, fuck, this is our new reality. It'd be a very sobering experience. And I know for a fact, as do all the experts, that the vast majority of people are not ready for that. Inside of 3 weeks from a catastrophic event like that happening, 90% of the population is gone.
Yeah.
Gone. And people don't understand what that means, what that looks like. There's 7 billion people. How many people were?
There's like almost 8 billion in the world.
In the world.
Yeah, 8 billion.
How many people were in America? Just America.
330 million.
Okay.
So if you're talking 330 million, 90% of that, you're talking 33 million people left. That's like the size of what, New York and California, and everything else is gone.
Combined, yeah.
Or maybe Texas too. New York, Texas, and California, everything else is gone.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy, man. And I mean, think about and that's spread over the entire nation.
Right.
So now, I mean, that's going to be, you've got the vast majority of that are going to be like ranchers and farmers out in rural communities. They're the only ones left. Yeah. Yeah, they're the only ones left. And then like people like me and you that have, that have prepared and that are ready and whatever. And listen, what you guys need to understand is that I don't want that to happen. Like, I'm not one of these people that romanticizes like something like that happening, because I am very well prepared for that day. As far as water, as far as stored food, as far as the ability to acquire those things,
right.
Security, knowledge, like all the way down to super primitive living, setting snares, starting fire from nothing, right? Like I feel pretty good about my skills and my abilities and my knowledge, and I do not want that to happen, right. because I know that still... my time is still quite limited, and that's with me being very, very well prepared.
Take yourself down by about 25% body weight. Think about sleeping maybe 3 or 4 hours a day. I mean, for you, that's nothing. For me, that's nothing. We're kind of used
normal.
to 3. But for the average person, maybe 2 to 3 hours a day. Think about sleeping, dropping 25% of your body weight, wondering where your next meal comes from. I mean, there's almost a psychosis that comes along with living that way, because you become paranoid. You become like an animal. Yeah. And nobody these days has really had to live like that. We live in such comfort.
Yeah.
And we watch it on the movie. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Like you were saying, like dropping your body weight, like you and I are strong. We're muscular people. We're like, we're much stronger and much bigger in a muscular sense than most people. But that requires the time lifting and doing and training and all those things. But the amount of calories that goes in to support that is a lot of food, they say 2,000 calories to sustain, right? To just sustain the normal person, whatever. I don't know about those numbers. I don't know what it really requires. What I know is that there are a lot of people taking in like 2,500 calories at breakfast at McDonald's.
Exactly.
But that's why our nation is wildly
disgusting,
overweight and gross. However, back to my point, you and I are taking in vast majority of our calories is protein, right? We prioritize protein, and then after that, it's supportive carbohydrates and fats, right? So, and I know, like for me personally, when I have a fight coming up and I need to drop to I need to make a certain weight class or whatever, I know the science that it takes in my body and my calorie intake and my calorie output, my exercise output to burn a certain amount of calories in a day. I know that science and those numbers for my body, right? And I can kind of gain weight and lose weight as needed. But the point is that any given average day, I'm taking in thousands of calories a day.
Right.
far more than 2,000 calories. I'm not building muscle in like,
I'd say at least double that.
yeah, I take in at least 4,000 calories a day for sure. And it depends on, like I'm saying, where I'm at in the scope of I'm going to get ready for a fight, or I don't have a fight coming up, or whatever it is I'm trying to do. But so let's say 4,000 to 6,000 calories in a day, depending on what's happening, right? And again, that's good, clean food for the most part. Like, I like being a fat kid sometimes and having some stuff, but
Sneak a little snack. Yeah.
you guys understand what I'm saying. Now in a survival scenario, a survival situation, I'm not eating 4,000 calories in a day.
No.
I'm not. Like MREs, I've had to live on MREs. I know you have as well. An MRE has 3,500 calories in it.
Yeah, very dense.
Yeah, 3,000 to 3,500 calories in it. And sometimes you eat one of those. Like that's what you eat is one MRE. And because they don't give a fuck about you having breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They care about you staying alive.
Right.
And in combat, like eating an MRE, like, they're rarely, like in combat, was I only able to eat one MRE, like, because you're burning a fuck ton of calories. So, but say 2 MREs, and for the average person, like, they are very dense, calorie dense and stuff, but it's still based on the American diet, like you were talking about earlier. People are used to going to Waffle House or wherever the fuck they go, get this big plate of food for breakfast. We're going to do it again for lunch. We're going to do it even bigger for dinner. And that's what you're used to visually and like that kind of quantity of food and stuff. And whether it's healthy or not is irrelevant. But you drop it down to where, man, like we have 8 cans of beans.
Yeah.
We've got 8 cans of beans. We got a couple bags of chips. There's a box of Fruit Loops. For the average human, you know what I mean? Whatever bullshit is in their cabinet, it's not nutritious. It's not good quality food. So man, how are you going to sustain? I know I have bags of rice and dried beans and stuff like that, because I know I can survive a long time off those calories, right? There's protein, there's carbohydrates. I can fucking, I'm not going to win any, beauty contest, but I'm going to survive.
Yeah, cut your calories down, 800 calories. Think about 800 calories a day. Like having to do that to survive, or 1,000 even 1,000 calories a day. Can you survive on that? It's going to be rough, and you're going to drop some body weight. And then when you drop the body weight, it's not always just, I'm just losing fat. Look, this is great. No. You start losing and wasting muscle because you're not getting enough protein. And
right away.
Yeah.
Right away. It's not like, I'm going to shred up and lean up and I'm going to look good, and then I might start eating into some muscle. You're losing muscle right away if you're not bringing in enough protein.
Yeah, and then that affects your performance. And if you're out and have to be the hunter, you have to be the person to provide for yourself or for your family, and you start dropping that weight, you start losing that muscle mass, you don't have the endurance of the performance. How are you going to haul that 150-pound, 200-pound deer back to your house?
Yeah.
Who's going to handle that? And it's a progressively worse thing as you continually drop the calories and you continually not bring those in, your muscles continually waste away. Yep. Can you do the job you do right now? I guess we have to look at this as an introspective thing. If I dropped 40 pounds, 45, 50 pounds, could I do the job I do right now? It'd be fucking tough.
Yeah.
A lot of people out there, 40, 55 pounds, 50 pounds, they could probably stand to lose that and they'd be able to do their job. But, if you're not in good shape, how detrimental is that going to be to you in a survival situation?
And that's not an excuse to go be a fat fuck now in case something happens, because like you're already way more prone to injury, way more prone to illness. You're not as strong, you're not as fit. So you're not going to make it to the distance that we're talking about anyway, right?
You'll be the first ones to go. I hate to tell you, you guys are going to be the first ones to go.
Exactly. So, yeah, and even that drastic drop in calories and body weight, like you're talking about, a lot of things start wasting away. It's not just muscle. So all your connective tissue and fiber and stuff, you're going to be far more prone to injury. Just spraining an ankle, pulling a muscle, like doing something to a ligament or a tendon or something like that. Cognitively, it's super dangerous, right? Like your brain is not going to fire the same way. You're going to forget things very easily. You're going to be very lethargic and tired. You're going to know you need to move and work and do things, and you're just not going to want to. You're going to want to sit down. It's your body's self-preservation telling you to sit the fuck down and stop burning calories, because you need to stop burning calories, right? Now you're in that double-edged sword of, I need to stop burning calories, but I need to take in calories, but I need to burn calories to go collect those calories. Yeah. That's an age-old fucking problem.
And I think a lot of people look at that and go, yeah, that sounds terrible. But have you ever been to a state where you've been cognitively impaired, not by drugs or alcohol, but, just by some kind of process that was going on? I mean, I know that I have. I know that there's been times where I've been up for, between 36 and 42 hours at a time. Yeah. No sleep, lack of food, just because of the job I was doing or because of the driving I was doing, in a combination with the work and driving. I mean, it gets scary. I could remember a time where I was doing that, and I don't remember where I was driving. It was cross country for something, and then I was going back across country. I had to pick up a vehicle and go back across country, and I did it all in one spell, and it took around 40 hours. And I remember by the end of the trip, it was nighttime, and I remember looking at the car in front of me, and I started hallucinating. Yeah. And I was like, holy shit, I need to get off the road. And I was well hydrated, my food, my caloric intake, I was eating road food, so I wasn't the best nutrition.
But it's still calories.
But and it still fucked with you. And it's still like, I pulled the car over. I was like, I just need to sleep. I thought I was tough. I thought I could handle it. I mean, but I'm not saying try that one time, but you have to know what that feels like to see what you're actually going to do in a situation like that. 40 hours of being awake, unless you're on some kind of mind-altering drug, is no trip for anybody. It's no fun for anybody.
Well, the average person, they could just stay in their house. I would challenge you, just don't eat. Just don't eat. Like, just don't eat. Skip breakfast, skip lunch, and let's see where you're at mentally. And you've got plenty of stores. You've got plenty of caloric stores in your body. But that quickly, if you just skipped breakfast and lunch, you'd be in the worst mood. You'd be lethargic. You'd feel terrible. And that's not even scratching the surface of what we're actually talking about. Go 2 days, 3 days, 4 days without eating food, or eating very, very, very little, and watch how quickly your cognitive function and your morale declines.
I guess you could just always ask your Tesla robot to come prepare you a meal or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, let's say that happens, but then they're the only things that function electronically, then you're fucked.
Yeah, they got some kind of fucking...
So, what do you... All right, so I feel like, here's the thing, guys, you need to understand, like, it's kind of doom and gloom and whatever, but we really have not even scratched the surface at what that would actually realistically look like and how terrible it would be. What we just said sounds awful, and it is awful, but the reality is that it would be far worse. So understand that, but just in what we've kind of described right now, what are some takeaways? What are some precautionary things that we can do, that they can do, to ensure that they're as sufficiently prepared as possible?
Yeah, I think the first thing is like self-preservation. Like, you have to be able to fight and fend off any attack that's going to come at you. Like, so you have to be physically prepared to fight and engage in some type of combative situation. So, if you're carrying a gun, great. If you're not carrying a gun, you need to, according to your state law, I have to say that, I guess, for legal purposes, but you do whatever you want. But you need to be prepared to use it.
Well, let me just quickly, I don't mean to interrupt you, but let's touch on that for a second. I am a huge believer, and I know you are too, in not living in a place that's going to regulate that.
Right.
So like, I'm not going to live somewhere where I'm not allowed to have a gun to defend my family, to defend my household, to defend my things. And there are lots of places like that, and there are a lot of political pushes and movements to try to limit that. So just chew on that. Understand that that's obviously very important because, well, I'm just following the law and I'm following what my governor and president said. And then now all of a sudden the shit hits the fan. They don't fucking care. So it's, like you said earlier, nobody's coming to help you. It's what do you have to help yourself and your family? So.
Yeah, and the government's the one with all the guns in those places. So that's why we don't live in California, New York, or Chicago, or any place like that. But I think like that's the first, like that's the foundation. Because without that ability to protect yourself and without that ability to acquire other means of survival, like you're no good. In the immediacy of a situation, you need to be able to do that. And then you can worry about, in priority levels, water, food, shelter. You have to think about those things next.
Yeah. So, and don't misunderstand what he's saying. Like, levels of immediacy is what do I have in my home currently? So let's say, like, breaking it down very simplistically, because some people are not going to understand. Break it down very simplistically. You should have stored water in your home. So what does that look like? Gallons of water, cases of water.
Yeah, 55-gallon drums. I mean, there's plenty of people who carry those 55-gallon water drums, and they've got those in their house. I know a lot of people out in Arizona, the Mormons. I mean, that was a big thing for them. They always had those in their houses. Yeah,
and if you don't have it to that level, if you don't, because then we can get in detail too with rain catchment systems and all the different filtration systems and stuff like that we were touching on earlier that I know you and I both have, but the average Joe, the average person, go to Costco, go to the grocery store, do whatever. And listen, if you don't have, a couple $100 to drop on, enough water to last you, then every time you go to the grocery store, that's what I did for a long time. Like every time I went to the grocery store, my number was 3. I just would get like 3 extra cases of water or 3 gallons of water.
Yeah.
Like whatever, just 3 of them, grab them. You're not going to see that. It's fucking cheaper than a gallon of spring water at the grocery store is like $1.20 or something. Yeah.
Costco's got cases of 40 bottles for like $5 or something. It's ridiculously low.
Exactly. So you guys can afford it. And water is first. Water is first. Okay. You can go a lot longer without food than you can go without water. But in terms of helping yourself prepare, you need to do that with both, because the immediacy of something happening, you need to make sure that you right now, at least for the next 3 days, let's just say 72 hours, you have enough food and you have enough water, okay, in your home, stored somewhere. Everybody, people have heard this before. You're 9 meals away from total anarchy. 9 meals away from total anarchy. That's 3 days. That's real, guys. You might think like, no, there's no way, whatever. Dude, there were riots and looting at grocery stores over toilet paper during COVID. That's toilet paper. So, this stuff is serious. You need to take it seriously. So get yourself, obviously the more the better, but go to the grocery store, go to Costco, go to Sam's Club, whatever. Get yourself enough stored water. Cases or gallons of water.
And one point to that, like, don't just get it and store it and leave it in your house for 3 years,
right?
4 years. Like, cycle that stuff out. When you buy another case, if you're drinking bottled water, cycle it out. Get, whatever. After 6 to 8 months, the oldest case, take it out of there, maybe put it in your dog bowl, put it in your Keurig, use that water, replace it with 2 more. And you got to continually cycle this stuff out, because despite what people think, water doesn't last forever, and if there's anything in that water, it's going to grow. It's going to grow over time. So you could get very sick from just drinking bottled water. Just one more point.
And which goes hand in hand with the filtration system and knowledge, understanding how to purify water. There are many ways to purify water, to filter and purify water. So understand those ways too. Like, but that's more mental. Some of that is
Right.
still like acquiring the supplies to do it. But it's more understanding the knowledge, having the knowledge of how to do it. So anyway, start with water. Water is the most important. It's more important than food, but food is a very close second. Without food, again, cognitively, you're going to decline very quickly. Physically, you're going to decline very quickly. So store enough water, store enough food. If just right now, we're talking to the average Joe, how much water would you say? I mean, again, this is kind of a trick question. 2 years, like that's a great answer, but the average person can't store 2 years worth of water in their house. So,
I think
what would you say?
I think the bigger thing is not how much water you have, but how much you can acquire. For me, it's more about like filtration and being able to acquire another source of water that I can filter out, because
Right.
eventually the water that you have stored in your closet or in your garage or wherever is going to run out. So for me, it's
Right.
like per an individual, I drink a gallon of water a day. I'd probably have to cut that back quite substantially. If you have 5 individuals in your house, 5 gallons of water a day, a gallon of water a day is usually rule of thumb, but
Yeah, that's optimal
that's optimal.
hydration. And if you're in a situation now, we're in a survival situation where you're not, you're out moving more. You're not driving in your car. You're not getting Starbucks. You're not all these things. So like water is really all you have to drink. It actually wouldn't be difficult to drink a gallon of water a day. For the average person, drinking a gallon of water a day is hard.
Yeah.
For you and me, it's normal, but that's because we do it all the time. So, I would say, to answer the question, and you kind of see where we're going. Like, it's kind of hard to answer the question. You need to acquire the knowledge and the supplies to be able to filter water, to be able to purify water. Okay. That's a must. You have to have that. But to get yourself out of the immediate, oh shit, this happened, how much water would you say? Like 3 days, 2 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it'd probably be a couple of days, 2-3 days. For, the average person who's sitting at their house, I don't know. I mean,
And you're saying that, again, I don't want anybody to get lost on what we're saying, because I think some people might be surprised by what you just said. They would probably think like, oh, he's definitely got like a month worth of water supplied to the house. His point is, I just need a few days worth of water because I have the ability to go acquire
I'm
water.
already working on the plan.
Exactly.
As soon as things go out, I'm already working on the plan to go and acquire more. You know,
Right.
so I'm just trying to get myself to that next stage,
Yeah.
and that's a bare minimum.
For sure.
I mean, because if I'm not able to go out and acquire more, then I'm fucked. Then
For sure.
then I'm really screwed. So yeah, for an
At
individual,
least 3 days. At
Two-
least
yeah.
3 days of water. Go get enough water. How many people are in your house? Is it just you and you stay in an apartment? Is it you're a single mom, single dad, and you've got a kid or two, or do you have a family of 5 or 6? Then your number is going to vary depending on what your household looks like. But to be safe, let's go a gallon of water per person for a week, 2
Yeah.
weeks, and try to hit that number, and then store that water
and
somewhere in your house.
One other point to tag on to your point of you're going to be moving around, and so you also have to think about this. Yeah, you're pretty comfortable in your house. You're comfortable in your car. You got your air conditioning going. You're not perspiring a whole
Right.
lot. When shit goes down, you get no power in your house. It's in the middle of the summertime. It's 95 degrees out or 100 degrees out wherever you are. Just moving around, you are losing an immense amount of water from just breathing, through sweating, just in general. You lose way more water when you don't have the availability of air conditioning. So when you say 2 to 3 days, 3 days at minimum, that amount for somebody, depending upon the season, is going to change quite a bit.
For sure. And it's not just like when it's very hot outside, yeah, you need more water, but when it's very cold outside, you need more water.
Sure.
You evaporate a lot of a lot of moisture through, like you bundle up, your body's warmer, whatever. There's still that evaporation and perspiration that's happening. So, so then food. Again, a lot of different ways of storing and keeping food. You guys can have freeze-dried food. There are a bunch of different emergency food, companies out there. I have a lot of that myself.
It's quite expensive. I mean,
it's quite expensive.
You got to be able to have the money for that, but it lasts for decades according to the packaging. So
I've got food. I've got enough food for 4 people, for 4 adults, and it lasts 30 years is what they've got on there. And I've got enough for all of us for a year. So that realistically, like, and I did what you kind of talked about earlier, like the serving size of that food is not what I would usually eat in a day. Obviously, it's far, far less. And I tested that. I wanted to see like how much food. Okay, this is how much I'm able to eat in a day. I wanted to know. So I've also got other things like canned, preserved food. You guys can just store food, canned food in your pantries as well. You need to rotate that out, the same as Gunnar was saying earlier with the water. Really important to rotate, even though it's canned food, it'll still spoil.
Still goes bad, yeah.
Yeah.
And for the listeners out there, just in case you're wondering, his address is 725 Canterbury Lane,
Connecticut. And well, they're not coming to my house. Nobody's coming to my house. They know better. So the canned food you can rotate through. You guys can get, I highly recommend one of the most calorie dense and nutritious ways to do it. I touched on it earlier is just rice and beans. You can get dried beans that all you need to do is hydrate them, right? Which I was going to talk about that too. People don't understand how much water they use in a household every day. Your dishwasher, your sinks, your showers, your washing machine, flushing the toilet. A lot of that stuff's not going to happen anymore, right? But just the necessity of like how much water you need to cook your meals every day, right? But anyway, back to the food. So you guys can get dried beans and rice, like regular uncooked rice, obviously. You guys can get those, put them in a Mylar bag, line a 5-gallon bucket with a Mylar bag, fill that up as much as you can, and then you can seal those Mylar bags so that there's no air getting to it, and then close those 5-gallon buckets. And a 5-gallon bucket really doesn't take up a lot of space. You could have like 3 5-gallon buckets of rice, 3 5-gallon buckets of beans. That'll last you a very, very long time. And that complex carbohydrate, the fiber, and the protein from that combination of foods is very calorie dense and will sustain life for a long, long time. So
yeah.
Peanut butter, you just mentioned.
Peanut butter is another good one.
That's huge.
Not the crappy processed stuff. Get the natural peanut butter where you got the layer of oil on the top. Again, that stuff goes bad. We eat a lot of peanut butter in my house, so I mean, always keep a few jars of that somewhere in your house. I mean, you can stock up on that stuff, and I don't know what the expiration dates on that are, but I mean, for a year, you can buy a jar, and just have a whole stockpile of them. And as you go through them, keep them lined up in your pantry, and then just push the line down, add another one.
And listen, like if money's a thing, because for a lot of people, money is a thing when it comes to stuff like this, get the fucking Jif or the whatever, the Skippy or whatever the fuck, the processed shit that's not the all natural, whatever. Best case scenario, like try to still treat your body well, but what we're talking about is like survival is necessary. So if I were to go and I'm going to go through a house, someone else's house, let's just say that person left town, right? And their house is empty and I know they have food and supplies in there. I'm going to go in there and take what I can. Those are the things that I'm going to get first, right? If there's like canned beans, there's jars of peanut butter, there are things like that. That's the shit I'm taking first, because I know like how long it will go, right?
Yeah, and to just again tag on to this, that's great. Get a can opener.
Yeah.
Because that's really going to suck if you got cans and cans and cans of beans and you have no way to get those fucking things open.
Back to knowledge and experience, man.
Just simple.
I know how to open a can using just the concrete.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people have no idea what I'm talking about. They're like, what do you, like you smash the can on the concrete? No, obviously not. Like, I know how to just take the top off of a can using the concrete. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then
YouTube it.
Yeah, or hit me in the comments. We'll make a video of it. We'll make a video of it. But things like that you need to know, because what do you got to fucking, now what? You just, okay, you got a can of tuna, but you're gonna stare at it because you can't get it open. You know.
Yep. Yeah. And that's kind of stuff like, I think, like, I've got places where I store my water and like things that I can immediately grab and go if I have to grab and go. I've got giant coolers full of water, and inside there I've got, each one of them's got a knife and a can opener and waterproof matches and just emergency blankets, like little things that you're going to need in the immediacy. And these are things that you could put together yourself if this ever happens.
Yep. And this gets deep, guys. Like, you know, I know we both have, you know, a bag for each of our family members, and for ourselves, you can grab and go if we need to quick get out of town. And each one of those has a water filtration system, at least 2, you know, a way to open cans, a way to do different things, right? Clothes and whatever. Like, you don't want to be last minute. It's like when your wife's pregnant and you know she's due any day now, you need to be prepared for that. Yeah. So you have the bag ready and it's by the door. You know, that's the same thing with what we're talking about. You guys need to think ahead. You need to be prepared. And you need to stop living with your head in the sand. Don't, and not everybody does, but some people, like, their mind is in the right spot. Their heart is in the right place. And they're like, I know I need to be prepared. I know I need my preparations for my family, and I'll do it.
Yeah, but when?
When? Let's fucking go. Like, it's time to just do it so that you have it, so that you know, so that you're ready. Just do it. And
and to touch on a point you said about the financial means, and the finances are something that, you know, a lot of people struggle with. That's just poor planning, you know, because you go out and you get your drink from Dunkin' Donuts every day. Well, why not, instead of doing that, you get a case of water and you make a coffee at home? Yeah. Stop making excuses, because there's places I can cut financially and I can make things happen. There's places you can cut financially and make things happen, but we get so accustomed to our creature comforts that we just don't want to give them up. And it's much easier to make an excuse than it is to actually make a change. So think about that for a second.
And the more you've done it and the more prepared you are, the more you're allowed to do that.
Yep.
If you don't have 24 hours worth of water stored at your house, you don't deserve to go get that cup of coffee and that whatever. If you've got a couple days, a couple weeks worth of water stored at your house, okay, like, go, you know what I'm saying? Like, we cut you some slack. Like, you're allowed to go do that because you've at least taken some of those steps and you're prepared. But be honest about what it would look like. And listen, some of you guys have no idea. Some of you have no clue what that might look like. If that's the case, reach out to us. We'll help you. You know, we can go case by case and just kind of tell you, okay, how many people do you have in your family? What do you do for work? How far away from your house do you live, or do you work? You know, what age are your kids? Do they go to school? Does one of your kids drive? Is one in daycare? What? All these things are things you need to know and you need to plan for your family in case something happens. And then you need to have a plan for getting your family together, making sure that they're safe, everybody's accounted for, and then now, how do we survive moving forward until things are remedied, assuming things will be remedied.
Yeah, I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but that was another one. Like, when communications go down and shit goes sideways, how are you all getting together? I mean, that's such a major thing, because if your wife is at work, if you're at work, if your kids are at school, like, what's the plan?
Yeah.
Who's getting the kids? Where are you guys going to meet up? You know, How is your wife getting home? All these things need to be discussed, and you guys have to have an immediate plan and a way to know when that plan is going to be put into action, because if shit goes down and EMP goes off, cell phone service is knocked out, there is no communication. There's just got to be action. That communication had to happen months before. And if you don't have that conversation now, I'm sorry, but you guys are going to be part of that 90% that doesn't make it 3 weeks.
Yep. Again, it's not to scare you guys, but it is to make sure that I want you to be scared. I do want you to be scared. I want you to be terrified. I want you to be scared enough to take action, though.
To think ahead.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you say it was like 9 meals until anarchy or something like that?
9 meals until utter, chaos.
I got 1 meal until anarchy, so I think we need to think about that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty hungry myself. All right, guys. So, listen. Oh, wait, what did we let's see. We touched on water real fast. We touched on food real quickly. Let's touch on keeping it all secure, because we didn't touch on that. So touch on keeping it all secure. Like, okay, the average person thinks I got a gun, I got whatever, but
yeah, I mean, again, that's individual for every person. If you're or separate for every person. If you're an individual, I mean, I know how to get all my stuff out of my house, and I know where I'm going. But if I've got a family, is your family trained to protect your stuff? Do they know the signs to look out for? When somebody's casing your house. I mean, I got to go back to like law enforcement. And this isn't going to necessarily apply in this situation, but when you see that vehicle that goes by your house that you've never seen before, and then you see that vehicle come back again, and then you see it parked down the road, and then you don't see it for a few days, do you just ignore those signs, or do you pay attention and go, oh, I just saw that vehicle when I went to the food store today? Right. Does your antenna go up? So in a situation like this, where there is no communication, there are no vehicles moving, but you maybe see a neighbor or think it's a neighbor that you haven't seen before. Are you keying into those little mannerisms? Are you keying into the fact that they're in your neighborhood? Are you keying into the fact that they're watching your house, or maybe attempting to look like they're not watching your house but watching your house? I think it's just personal awareness at that point, and making sure that the people that are in your tribe are also personally aware that they're paying attention to those things, and that you're communicating back and forth to each other about the things you see and about the things that are happening around you.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. We're not telling you guys that you need to go out and be like a hardcore doomsday prepper. Not that would be bad, but, not all of us have, 60, 70, 80 grand to put a bunker under our garage. But don't be stupid. Okay. Your safety, your family's safety, men, is up to you. It is your responsibility. So, do what you need to do, get some of those preparations together. And again, reach out to us if you guys want some help, some personalized, customized help for you, your situation, your family. We're happy to help you. So, until next time, guys, remember, you only have one life. Make it an alpha life.